Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and finish this.
Let's go deeper, even deeper than this. The third one. Recognizing this infinity, what it said, recognizing that oneness of this universe, which you are, dissolved thus into infinity. Now this individual being is dissolved into infinity. You see that you are one with infinity. That particular life does not matter to you anymore. Let it lead a wonderful life of service and calmness and beauty and peace. And one day it will pass away. Fine. It makes no dent to you. You're the infinite. What does one body and one little life make? You are that. Right now. Ashtavakra says, just notice it. Just recognize it. Third one. Oh, this is even deeper. All right. Pratyaksham apyavastutvad vishvam nastyamale tvayi rajju sarpa iva vyaktam evam eva layam vraja. What did he say earlier? You are detached from the entire universe, first. Second, the entire universe is in you. Third, the entire universe is not in you. Now he's saying, pratyakshamapi, even though it is experienced, you see it, you hear it, you smell it, you touch it, taste it, you think about it, you understand it, you struggle with it. Pratyaksham, it is experienced all the time. Yet, because it is, he says, avastu, because it is inherently empty. We'll come to that. It is, in Sanskrit, what is called mithya, false, an appearance. Because of that, there is no universe within you. Amale tvai, in you the stainless, the pure, in which there is no blemish, in the blemishless the entity, the reality which is you, that no universe exists in you. It appears in you. Look, they're not denying it. They're not denying you actually see the universe, you experience the body, you have a life, you experience it, not denying it. They're just saying it's not real. It's an appearance. Then, Rajju Sarpa Iva Vyaktam. It appears like that famous snake in the rope. It appears like a serpent in a rope. The rope is mistaken for a serpent. You, the infinite existence, consciousness, bliss, you are mistaking your real nature for this world.
I would have used the mirage example for that one because I guess without me, with my mind thinking so deep into the mirage, what causes the mirage, all the water, well, I don't know if it's water vapor, so just heat, reflected surface. It's more just the basis of the mirage itself, which is just an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's not there. You see something, but it's not really there. Not the fact that, there's the sun that causes everything. That's the way my mind thinks. But for some odd reason, I can accept this example as, that the reason why the universe is within you and not within you is because it's an illusion. And a great example for illusion is a mirage. A mirage is something that I don't know if we necessarily all experience, but we've seen in some movies, and we have an understanding of it, maybe not necessarily how it works. I believe it's just due to the heat waves that it causes the illusion of water. And that's the mirage. You think there's water there, you think there's a pool of water there, and it's not. And that's the example I would have used as opposed to the snake, because the rope and the snake, because there's actually something there, but it's a misunderstanding of what is there. It's like me saying, here it is. It's like me saying, this is a pencil. This is a pencil. It's really a pen. And I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. My mistake. There is something here, but it's not a pencil. It's actually a pen. So the fact that there is still something there when you mistake an object for a different object, as opposed to a mirage where you mistake an object for something that's not actually there, because the mirage itself is non-existence. I guess you could say maybe heat is an object too, but I'm not going too deep. It's a little bit, I guess, because the mirage is not a physical object, not something that we can actually touch. We can feel the heat, but we can't touch it in a sense. Whereas an object like a rope and mistaken for a snake, there is actually still an object there. Try not to be too technical. Just I I I remember I struggled with it a little bit, where because again, just how my brain works, and trying to find the best example I can think of that at least works for me, and hope that it works for other people. Whatever example works for you to help you understand this, use that, whether it's mine or his or neither or someone else's.
This world is none other than Brahman. This world is none other than you. You do not know that. You know it to be a universe and people and a life of suffering and strife, ambition and success and failure, the little stories of each of our little personal lives. That's what we know it as. Pratyaksham api avastutvat. Though we see it, it's not real. That Swami under whom I used to study this, I have told this story earlier again. I think I'll repeat it, but it's pertinent here at this point. He was in Gangotri. The Ganges is flowing past the Ganga, narrow and fast, and 10,000 feet in the Himalayas. And this television crew comes to take a picture, to take a video of the Ganga. And because the Swami had not seen television, they said, "We'll show you TV." And they put a television in front of him. They cranked up a generator, focused the camera on the river. And the Swami told us, in Hindi, he told us, "Sab dikhta hai Mahatma ji, pani bhi Ganga ji bhi dikhti hai, kal shabd bhi sunai deta hai." We could see everything. Oh Swamis, a group of Swamis were sitting around him. "Oh Swamis, I could see everything. I could see the river flowing past. I could hear the gurgling sound of the water. I could hear that." Then I asked the director of the film crew, the TV crew, "Sir, can you give me a glass of Ganga water from there? Can you, ek gilas Ganga pani dijiye? Can you give me a glass of Ganga water from the river?" And the director laughed and he said, "Oh Swami, how is that possible? It just looks like that. It's not there. Dikhta hai nahi in Hindi. It's very powerful there. It looks like that. There's no reality to it." And then the Swami, I can never forget, he looked very piercingly at us. We were sitting at his feet. "Oh Swamis, oh monks, look around you. There's towering peaks, glaciers running down, the pine forests around, and the river flowing at our feet. Look around, all this. It appears there is no reality here. It is form, it is sound, it is smell, it is taste, it is touch. Instead of seeing a two-dimensional movie, a three-dimensional movie, we have this five-dimensional movie playing before consciousness. There's no reality there. There's no substance. Nothing that will slake your thirst." There's a Tagore song.
Real quick before I remember, 5 dimensions? What would be the fourth and fifth one?
I think it's Dhananjay Bhattacharya's song. I've forgotten the source. Anyway, the song goes like this, that sitting on the banks of the ocean of nectar, of an ocean of nectar, sitting on the banks of the ocean of nectar, they die of thirst, O my Lord. They do not turn around and see. They scrabble in the hard sand trying to get a drop of water to quench their thirst. They die there on that sand. They do not look around to see the ocean of nectar behind them. That's us. He's talking about us. Struggling throughout life for a little bit of peace, a little bit of love, a little bit of lasting, profound satisfaction in life. No. We are trying to get water from sand. The reality is within us, is who we really are. It's an appearance. The universe appears in thee. It's an appearance, it's not real in itself. Technical point here before I go on. Definition of falsity in Advaita Vedanta. How do you define what is false? That which borrows its reality from something else is false. It does not have reality of its own. It's like saying, who's not truly rich? Looks rich, but is not rich. It means credit cards. You borrowed your wealth. I have borrowed my wealth from others. I look rich, I act rich, I buy rich, but I'm not rich because it's all borrowed. So I'm not truly rich. All that appears seems to exist. Its existence is drawn from Brahman, that infinite existence which you are. It's borrowed from the universe, borrows its existence from you and appears before you. Vivekananda says, things are dead in themselves. We breathe life into them, then either we chase them or we run away from them. It borrows its existence from us. That which has borrowed existence is defined as false. False is not non-existent. There's a difference between existent, false, non-existent. It's like this. It's a difference between telling the truth, telling a lie, and keeping silent. Telling the truth is saying it as it is. That is the existence. That's compared to Brahman, the reality. On the other hand, is not saying anything, keeping silent. That is non-existence, nothingness. But the false is neither of these. When somebody tells a lie, that person is actually speaking, is saying something, not keeping silent. Is saying something, but telling an untruth, telling it as not as it is. Similarly, that which is false, the universe of appearance, is not non-existent. It is not truly existent like Brahman. It's a mixture of the two. It borrows its existence from Brahman and then plays out before us. So here is the point I want to make. A little bit of logic, borrowed from a philosopher who lived 2000 years ago, Nagarjuna, the great philosopher of Shunyavada, the school of void, Buddhist void. The logic goes like this. Hold on to the idea that the false, the appearance, the mithya, literally Sanskrit word mithya means false, is borrowed existence, right? That which borrows existence is not either existent nor non-existent. That is the false. That which we cannot say it really exists. Brahman only really exists. That we cannot say it does not exist because it appears to us. How can you say it does not exist? It's not the truth, it's not silence, it's in between. You hear it, but it's not true. You see it, it does not exist. So that which you cannot say that it truly is, that which you cannot say that it is not, that mixture that neither exists, nor can you say it does not exist, that is the false. Hold on to that. Now the logic goes like this.
I've never, out of all the videos I've watched, I've never heard any of the Swamis or gurus say that, where essentially Maya itself is between the truth and non-existence.
When you say borrowed existence, in normal circumstances, borrowing something is very simple. I mean, who borrows? The person who does not have it. Follow this logic, it's very interesting. The person who does not have something will borrow. So who borrows money? A poor person borrows money. Who is a poor person who does not have money? Borrows money. So the poor person does not have money, borrows money. It's simple. But when it comes to existence, the thing becomes very interesting. The question is asked, what sort of entity can borrow existence? What sort of entity can borrow existence? The truly existent need not borrow existence because it exists. Brahman, God, the ultimate reality, need not borrow existence because it exists. And that which does not exist, non-existent, cannot borrow reality because it doesn't exist. How can it borrow reality? Somebody who does, a non-existent man cannot borrow money. Similarly, a non-existent entity cannot borrow existence because it doesn't exist. How will it borrow anything at all? It cannot do anything. So that which borrows existence cannot be ultimately truly existent. It cannot be non-existent. It can only be neither truly existent nor non-existent, in between. That is the definition of the false. It is only the false which borrows existence. Borrowing existence is called falsity.
But that's kind of weird though, because something must exist to borrow existence, right? Because if it doesn't exist, then it's non-existence. So therefore, if it's non-existence, it cannot borrow existence. So it must exist to borrow. It's more along the lines of kind of, I guess that's a bit. Think of it logically. You're saying this is the logic. Something exists, cannot borrow existence because it exists. Something that does not exist cannot borrow existence because it does not exist. And the middle there is nothing. There is not nothing, but there's no in the middle because it either exists or doesn't exist, or is it something that we just can't comprehend? Which still doesn't make any sense because if it can borrow existence, it can't, therefore it exists. But if it cannot borrow existence, therefore it does not exist. There's not an in between there where it's partly between existence and non existence, you know? I would say, logically speaking. I kind of like the idea of Maya, the play, better, where, I mean, I've only heard about it a little bit, but it's almost like Brahman itself is like I don't know, a god that's just bored and just decided to write this movie. just just all right, let's see how it turns out. Because it'd make a lot more sense because then it's not something that doesn't or does exist barring existence. It's more along the line that existence is creating something, an illusion. So existence is creating, in a sense, an existence within itself. The only problem is that the existence within itself thinks that it is the reality, but the reality is that existence itself is creating this existence, which is an illusion. But we think, uh, how to explain that? So, absolute existence, in a sense, creation of existence. So, existence creates like a second, kind of like a secondary existence, but it's not really separate. It's just that there's the reality of the existence, then there's the existence that we see. Essentially, it's just repeating what he said here. And then we think this is the reality, but in reality, this is the real existence itself. It's just that because we're so far into this one, I guess that really means this really doesn't do anything. So, anyways, this is the real reality, and we're just stuck here because this is kind of the existence that we live in and understand. Yeah, that's about the best I can really do with that example or explanation. It's I would love to ask him. It's like it still doesn't make logical sense to me because, you know, if it exists, therefore it's existence. If it does not exist, therefore it is non-existence. Only existence can have existence. Non-existence does not exist. There's no in between where it's like half existence and where non-existence and existence had a baby, you know? It's in that in middle ground. It needs that 50% more from existence to come into reality, you know? It's not like that, I don't believe. So that'd be a bit more confusing to me. I'd say that the just existence itself created just a maybe a what do you call it, an after effect or a just a byproduct or something of existence is this reality that we live in is a byproduct of existence, you know. It's not meant to be, it didn't intended to happen, it just did. You know, it's I was gonna say like, well, anyways, but yeah, that makes sense to me. Like it's just the reality that we live in. It's a byproduct of existence. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just it happened. You know, we just so happened to happen, and that's not a bad thing, nor is it a good thing. It is what it is, and then how we choose to live this byproduct of an existence is up to us. Maybe that's pretty good.
If that sounds very abstract, look at the snake which appears. The rope is mistaken as the snake. That snake, its existence, the momentary existence which you feel, there is a snake there. It borrows that momentary existence from the rope, which is its reality. The world of appearance borrows existence from you, the ground of appearance. Meister Eckhart, the great mystic, Christian mystic, Catholic mystic, he called God the ground of the universe. God is the ground of the universe, upon which the universe subsists and upon which it appears, but in which it really is not, Ashtavakra is saying. And that ground of the universe, you are. Not individually, that one reality, you are. That's your reality. Third one. What in one Sanskrit word, what shall we call it? Mithyatvam, falsity of the world experience. The world is an appearance. In what? In you, the reality. The fourth verse, the last.
Before we get to that verse, I was really thinking about the snake analogy there. I guess the problem with that is the sheer fact that this comes under three things: you, the rope, or you, the snake, and existence. The snake does not exist, but you do, and you made that implication of what the rope is. Whereas in terms of existence and non-existence, there's not a third person there to imply existence. So again, with the rope, you have you, snake, and rope. You see the rope as a snake, but where the snake come from is from you. The rope didn't create the snake, if that makes sense. You created the snake from the rope. Whereas existence and non-existence, there's no third party there. There's just whether it exists or does not exist. Whereas this one, there is a third party. You, snake, and rope. Snake's the illusion, rope's the reality. You are what's observing it. I hope that makes sense. At least that's how I logically think of it. Um, so I don't know. I was trying to make that an equivalency to that with the existence and non-existence. It would be then the rope is existence, the snake is non-existence, because there's only rope, there is no snake. Essentially, there's only rope, everything else is non-existence. Literally. There's no air, there's no pot, there's no clay, there's only rope. And rope, and that's it. Everything else, non-existence. Because again, looking at the rope and snake analogy, snake does not exist, rope does. So, but essentially, if we put it this way, reality is rope and rope only, everything else does not exist. But in terms of Advaita Vedanta, there's existence and non-existence. Existence is, of course, everything that we see that exists. It's just that there's that third party introduced there. So I guess let's go to first. There's existence and non-existence, right? So existence, it's existence itself. Then we introduce a third party, or yeah, we introduce a third party. Now we introduce, besides non-existent. Okay, listen to this way. I'm sorry. Here, okay. Here we start all over. There's existence and non-existence, and existence is existence. We introduce ourselves to this. Us. We are part of existence. We're an illusion of the existence. But when we look at existence, we see the illusion as well. You know, the food, the cars, everything. So we're part of existence, but this is the illusion part. We're not non-existence. We are existence, but we're the illusion of existence. If that makes sense. And and this is where the snake and rope comes from. The rope's reality, the snake is the falsity, and the falsity is created by us. We're looking at the rope, but we're seeing the snake. So we're looking at reality, but we're seeing cars, we're seeing planes, we're seeing buildings, we're seeing the light, the fan, the walls. This is us seeing the illusion behind essentially in front of the reality. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully, I'm not confusing you guys. Whoops. But it is something that requires a lot of thinking. Excuse me. Requires a lot of thinking for sure. And even my explanation there, I think I did a decent job of explaining it. I'm sure I can refine it, but again, just reacting right off the spot.
Next one this evening is a consequence of these three. Remember these three: non-attachment, asangatvam; ekatvam, oneness of the universe, you; mithyatvam, the non-reality, the unreality of the falsity of the universe which appears in you. First stage, you're completely detached from the entire universe of experience. First stage. Second stage, the entire universe of experience is in you. It's not different from you. Third stage, that which is in you, which appears in you, is really not in you. It's an appearance. Only that one existence, consciousness, bliss is, truly is. That's what you are. Knowing this, let this universe appear. Let the game go on. Let life go on. Birth and death, success and failure, all of them, let them come. Let the waves in the ocean roll on. That's the beauty of the ocean. The ocean is not afraid of the waves. The waves arise in the ocean, play in the ocean, disappear back into the ocean. Then what is the consequence? The last one, last verse. Sama dukkha sukha purna asha nairashyayo samaha sama jivita mrityu san evam eva layam vraja. Thou art infinite. Purna means you are whole, complete. You're complete in yourself. And therefore, sama dukkha sukha. In sorrow and in pleasure, in pain and in pleasure, thou art serene. Serene in pain and in pleasure. In hope and despair, alike serene. In death and in life, alike serene. In this way, dissolve into infinity. The consequence of this will be this tremendous serenity that comes off. You see, serenity is not a quality of the mind. It's the very nature of the self. When you become aware of that, the mind will become serene. The mind, you see, dukkha, if pain comes, mind will experience pain. But in the background of that will be an unchanging serenity. When Turyananda asks Ramakrishna, when Ramakrishna was suffering from cancer, "How are you today, sir?" Throat cancer, a nasty form of cancer. "How are you today, sir?" And Sri Ramakrishna says, "The cancer is there, the pain is there, I cannot eat anything, it hurts." And Hari Maharaj says to him, apparently a cruel thing to say, he says, "But I see you are in great bliss." Sounds cruel to say to a man dying of cancer. And what does Ramakrishna say? He bursts out laughing and he says, "The rascal has caught me out." Hari Maharaj himself, later on in life, when you're suffering, in so many incidents are there, where they would perform operations on him, he would say, perform the operation without any chloroform, without any anesthesia. And he would sit in peace, absolutely serene. Serene in pain, serene in pleasure.
Oof. Now that is something. Now, now I do believe you can have some control over your body for sure. I mean, it is chemicals. You're now. I don't know. Like, obviously, I've not seen people able to control very much of their body. I mean, like, there's nothing in life that teaches us that. You know, there's nothing in life that teaches us. Oh, if I focus enough, I can, make my nails grow, or my hair stand up on my, arm, or heat up my skin. I do remember actually someone on YouTube. I think his body runs a little bit hotter than everyone else's, than a typical body, I guess. And when he puts cups, it sticks. He thought it was kind of odd, and I think he went to the doctor, and they said there's nothing wrong with him. It's just that his body, I guess, just kind of generates a little bit more heat than everyone else, and which allows the cup to kind of stick to his body. But I wouldn't doubt there's ways to control your body. So, and perhaps one of those ways is kind of pain suppression. Now, pain is not meant to be suppressed because it's what keeps you alive. In the sense that, if you're severely injured, it's going to hurt like crap to let you know there's something major wrong with you and you need to go see a doctor. Again, I said this story before, like, man, I wish I can't feel pain to be amazing, but a lot of people again, I watched a recent video, apparently a lot of people who do not feel pain don't survive very long because if they're bleeding out or if there's a severe injury, if they don't feel pain, they don't know to go to a doctor. And when a doctor's assessing them, like what's the pain level and all that, they just don't feel it. So pain is something that you definitely want to have in life, only when it matters, only as a warning, and but being able to do pain suppression. So obviously not to suppress your pain completely, not to not feel pain, but during times where obviously there's something wrong and pain is just hindrance, at least you know that you're actively suppressing pain so you can get to a doctor or something.
Pain is experienced. Vedanta is not a painkiller.
Okay.
It will be experienced, and you will experience this, you will know the serenity beyond the pain. The pain appears in the ocean. It's a wave in the ocean which you are. You experience it. It's nothing to you. At one point when he was suffering a lot in his old age, Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyananda, was asked by a young monk, "Are you suffering very much, Swami?" And the Swami said, "It's the suffering of the body. Inside," he says this in Bengali, by the grace of Thakur, by the grace of Sri Ramakrishna, he says, the inside is a mass of ice. I'm absolutely cool inside. That serenity cannot be disturbed. Even if you try, you cannot disturb it. It's always available to you. Serene in pain, serene in pleasure. Serene in hope, serene in despair. Your mind will register hope and despair as life goes on, ups and downs of life. But all the time, the background serenity will be there. It's available to you. The moment you see that, you're absolutely calm. Serene in hope and serene in despair. Serene in life, serene in death, alike. Contemplate death, death of the body. There's no death for you. Once we get an insight into this, the first thing which will become clear is we are immortal. Effortlessly so you don't have to make yourself immortal. Yourself you need not make immortal. The body you cannot make immortal. Body will get old, degenerate, die, go back to nature, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That infinite ocean of awareness and bliss in which the body appeared, that will continue exactly as it has always, and that's what you are. Serene in life, serene in death. In this way, dissolve into infinity. When? Not at death, right now. Dissolve into infinity. This individuality is dissolved into the infinite. And from the infinite now you live the life. This life is lived in infinity. The whole book is like this, just four verses. No wonder people are warned against this book. Be careful, it will drive you crazy. Questions. If you give it to the mind, it will have 1,000 questions. If you have questions, then Vedanta will say, step down from Ashtavakra, come to the Upanishads, the commentaries of Shankaracharya, the teachings of all the great sages and all that. It will take you step by step up to this. In Vedantic learning, there are, Vedantic teaching, there are 3 stages. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is to systematically hear the teachings from a teacher again and again. Manana is to reflect upon it. Give it to the mind, intellect. One must understand, not believe in it. One must understand this. Understand this clearly, see it clearly. Manana. And then when you have seen it clearly, when you have got confidence on the teaching, dwell upon it day and night for a long, long period of time. Soak yourself in it. This text is meant for soaking yourself in it. It's the final text. When you have studied it, when you know it, when you are more or less convinced about it, it just hammers it in again and again and again into you. Questions? Reactions? Yes?
Sorry, I came late. What is the name of the book? And
Ah.
that question Janak Raja asked Ashtavakra.
Yes. So what is the book? It is the book. Ashtavakra.
Okay.
Ashtavakra Samhita. And the chapter is dissolve into infinity. 4 ways of dissolving yourself into infinity. What is the first way? The first way, or the first step, I would say, is non-attachment. Non-attachment not as a practice. You see, this non-attachment is perfectly compatible with the greatest attachment, with the most miserable kind of attachment also. It's perfectly compatible. It just tells you the real self which you are at this moment is completely non-attached. It is pure. There is nothing you can add to it by any kind of spiritual practice, moral practice, which will make it better. There is nothing that you need to get rid of to make it better. It's absolutely pure as it is. Dangerous teaching. The first reaction is to stop spiritual practices. Then you're going to get into serious trouble. Spiritual practices affect the mind. Just as physical yoga will affect the body, meditation and prayer cleanses the heart. Meditation quietens the mind. You see, if you want happiness, fall in love. Fall in love with God. Love of God is the highest happiness. You know, in this country especially, there's a culture of seeking happiness in a perfect romantic relationship. Doomed to failure in human relationships. But it's not false. The prototype is the relationship between the soul and the oversoul, between you and God. Fall in love with God. C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity, he defines religion as falling in love with God. Fall in love with God, bhakti, it will give you happiness. You want peace of mind? Meditate. Meditation, there are techniques of meditation which will give you deep peace of mind. You want the truth?
Swami, what translation do you prefer?
Or Nitya Swarupananda. But there is another one which is, I love it so much. Byram, he's a professor of English in Oxford. Yes. That book is a poetic rendition. See, the problem is when a scholar of Sanskrit renders it into English, it's literal, it's precise, but it loses the power somehow in English. If you want to read it in English, A.S. Byram, what is it, Heart of Awareness? Heart of Awareness. I think it's available in the, it was a few months ago. I bought the last one which was available, but I think it'll be, you can buy it. Just read it. It's beautiful. It's beautifully done. He was a professor of English in Oxford, trained in Oxford, and he taught in America also. I don't know if he's still alive.
No,
He died.
very young.
He died young. Oh.
Yes.
It's a fantastic. It shows a mind which is illumined. To some extent, at least, this person knows the truth. And you should read it here, in the early mornings or afternoons, in the silence in Santa Barbara, sitting out there. Looking at the ocean, the setting sun or the rising sun, and the greenery all around. Read that. Each verse, almost every verse, most of the time I've seen the translation, there is an improvement on the translation here. It can throw you into deep meditation. Just the words, that you are the Atman, perfect, alone, serene. Just that. Sit with that. You're not trying to be perfect, trying to be alone, or trying to be serene. You are that already. You cannot change it also. You just have to recognize it. Questions? We're almost out of time. We are out of time, I think. But still, some reaction, questions?
question, Swami. I think you're coming back.
In July.
I've spoken to Mataji and she's arranged programs here in July.
How long will you be here?
Almost a month.
In Santa Barbara.
No, I don't need to. But
That would be a
she's quick on the so she's reserved twice. You said
we hope
you hope I get it 3 times.
as much as we can for one Sunday and probably at least 2 other days.
Because I have to give Sundays to Trabuco and to Hollywood also.
How about your classes?
We can do something in between then.
Yeah.
If you're interested.
Yes.
Tell me, how did this strike you? Peace. Deep, profound. Uneasy? No, nobody?
Nobody.
But there are people. Is he uneasy? Uneasy? Yes. Do you have a song?
No?
No.
This is the song of Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra Gita is the song of Ashtavakra. Yes. Yes.
I just wanted to say that's been my favorite book for quite a while.
Yes. It's my favorite book too.
But there's a senior somebody here, so I'm doing something, and I think I'm doing it. I just don't know who's doing it, and then the mind collapses, and there's just unspeakable.
Existence, being, a radiance. Alright. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm sure I mean, I have questions for sure. It's just, perhaps just hopefully a better explanation or better understanding of the examples. Although, I've, I've not heard explanation of existence and non-existence. Now, I get the fact that Brahman is existence, or, yeah, so essentially, Brahman is, so therefore is existence. So therefore, if it exists, it's Brahman and nothing else. But then talking about this in between non-existence and existence itself, which is a bit confusing because I don't know if anything in between that. It's kind of like you introduce this third thing, but the problem with this third thing is like you have. It's kind of like here. I guess the 3 parts for this exists in the example, but in reality, yeah, the fluidity of honey is like between water and motor oil. Well, maybe motor oil is in between the fluidity of honey and water. It's not as thick as honey, but it's not as flowy as water. It's in the middle, but all 3 exist. And the reason that kind of works is because they all exist, and the reason why it's difficult for me to understand existence and non-existence. There's nothing in between there. If we are able to somehow process it, it must exist. For example, our imagination exists. I'm not saying it exists outwardly, but in order for us to imagine something, a chemical reaction does happen in our brain, so therefore it exists. Our emotion exists. It's a chemical reaction in our body. But to compare existence and then non-existence, and then what's in between those two, there's really nothing. If it exists, it exists. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's all there is to it. Because there's not an in between like honey, motor oil, and water, you know. And what else? Or like water's in the middle of honey and alcohol. I believe alcohol is lighter than water, so alcohol will be on the top. So alcohol, water, and honey, because the density of the liquid. Again, but the problem is they all exist, but is there's this in between, like water's heavier than alcohol, and water's lighter than um, honey. But you can't really do that with existence and non-existence, though. So if you somehow understand the existence and non-existence, let me know in the comments, because I certainly just can't really. Again, like he was talking about how this illusion, while something must observe an illusion. So, like a mirage, what you're seeing is actually just heat. It's not actually water, so it does exist. The mirage itself exists, but it's just not what you think it is. So therefore, it still exists. It's not non-existence or an in-between. Anyways, I don't want to keep thinking of that too much more. So that's my reaction to Ashtavakra. I'm sure I butchered that. Samadhi by Swami Sarvapriya. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.